Good morning and Boker Tov as we seek the Lord morning by morning for His wisdom and for His grace. There's something that we're going to look at this morning that is both amazing and so encouraging for us. Something that we learn from the Gospels. It's about Yeshua's disappearances. We learn that when Yeshua needed to, He disappeared from the scene. Now, when haven't we ever felt like we would just like to disappear from a place? Maybe from a crowd in the midst of a party, maybe from a very uncomfortable or embarrassing moment, or maybe when we're going through a tough season in life and we just feel like disappearing, like stepping off of planet Earth. You know, we would be, by the way, in very good company with the likes of Elijah, who asked the Lord to take his life, or Jonah, who asked the sailors to throw him overboard. If you have felt like disappearing, you're not alone. But for Yeshua, things were different. His disappearances were always related to keeping a certain time schedule. Because it was not the right time for his going to the cross, to the Tav, or because it was not the right time for him to be crowned king, he needed to disappear from the scene. Or because he didn't want to cause a ruckus with the crowd and defeat the purpose of what he was attempting to achieve at that very time. Each time Yeshua disappears, he disappears for a good reason. For example, when Yeshua came to Nazareth and preached in the synagogue there, telling the people that he fulfilled the messianic hope of Isaiah chapter 61, verses 1 and 2, he stirred up the people's anger because Yeshua pointed to two Gentiles who were affected by this. One was healed, a Syrian healed of leprosy, and a widow who was given help when all of Israel was going through the same effects of that same famine, yet Yeshua went to two Gentiles. So the people's response in Nazareth to hearing this was anger, and they wanted to send Yeshua right over the cliff. But the scriptures say that he passed through their midst. He just disappeared from among them. Why? Because it wasn't the right time, and it wasn't the right manner for him to die, so he disappears. He doesn't run away to save his own life, but rather to give his life at the Father's proper timing. In John chapter 8, Yeshua speaks of his equality with God, making a remarkable statement to the Jewish leadership. He said, "Before Abraham was, I am." Now they took up stones to throw at him because he said that. But it says that he hid himself, that he went out of the temple, and going through the midst of them, he passed them by. This was not the way that he was supposed to die, nor was the timing right. And so once again, we have his disappearance. But let's keep in mind one very important reality. While Yeshua does disappear from the scene, it doesn't mean that he is absent from us. Let's go back for a minute, back to Nazareth, when they were bringing him over to the edge of the cliff. Look what Yeshua does right after he passes them by and disappears. In the very next verse, we find him in Capernaum. Doing what? Teaching, preaching, ministering. He's not absent. He's there, and he continues to serve us. Now take a look at John chapter 8. After the people take up the stones and they want to lapidate him, and he disappears from the scene. Immediately after, we see him meeting up with the man who was born blind. Yeshua's work doesn't stop, nor does his life lessons. He wants to teach us again and again. Again, his disappearances do not mean his absences. And look what happens at this very story of Yeshua's healing of this blind man. After being healed, the people ask the man, well, where is this Jesus? Where is Yeshua? But Yeshua's gone, but only for a short time. Once all the arguments between the healed man and the Pharisees have ended, once the healed man is expelled from the religious community, Yeshua shows up once again. You see, Yeshua's timing is impeccable. So we need to be patient. We learn to be patient because God has a plan. So Yeshua now comes back and he asks the healed man if he believes that he is the Son of God, to which the man agrees and finally worships him. That was the purpose. Yeshua's disappearance and reappearance always has a purpose with precision timing, which means he is never absent from us. He is waiting. So in our lives, when it sometimes seems like Yeshua has just disappeared, especially in times of distress, especially in times of struggle, especially in times of deep pain. These are just examples that we go through to show that Yeshua's disappearance has nothing to do with his absence. He is never absent from us in our personal lives. He was always close by to teach, to comfort, and to guide. And he continues to do what he did then in the first century with us today. Do you remember Thomas, doubting Thomas, who said, I will not believe unless I see for myself the nail marks and I put my hands on them. Well, after saying that, it took about a week. 8 days came to pass. And now when Thomas is with the disciples together in the same room, Yeshua makes a personal appearance to him. But why did Yeshua wait the 8 days? Perhaps to authenticate his resurrection, since we are now the same day of the week, 1 week later after his resurrection. Or maybe because this was the time when Thomas would be most receptive to his appearance. Maybe for both reasons. But God's timing is always perfect. And notice as well that though Thomas was not with the disciples the first time, Yeshua now takes the time to appear to him, a second chance, so to speak, so that Thomas can now indeed confirm that Yeshua was his Lord and his God. God is never absent from us. In his time, in his foreknowledge, in his omniscience, Yeshua will answer our questions and our requests as we continue to seek him out by faith. When we call out to the Lord in sincerity and truth, he is there to open our eyes and help us to see that his presence is always there and made available to us. Now, we look at heaven and earth, and we know from the scriptures that it will disappear one day, that it will pass away. But it's an incredible thought for us because we look at this heaven and earth as something permanent and seemingly imperishable for us. However, it's not the things that have been created that will last forever. It is what is eternal and self-existing that will outdo time, and that is God and his word, which is eternal. Yeshua said, heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away, and his promises will never be absent from our needs. He is our Emmanuel, God who is with us. And should we think that he is absent or has disappeared, we have those eternal promises that will never go away. We ponder them and we apply them to our lives. The Lord your God is with you wherever you go, for it is the Lord your God who goes with you. He will not leave you. He will not forsake you. The Lord your God is in your midst, and behold, he is with us until the end of the age. For nothing, but nothing will separate us from the love of Messiah, Yeshua. Seek him daily, seek him morning by morning, for his promises are never absent from our midst. Have a blessed day in Yeshua, and may his shalom be with you.